Today we'll be diving deep into showing you guys how exactly I trade NFP, right? So firstly, the recommended broker that has no off codes on this event specifically, and fast withdrawals after this event. Withdrawals take like less than a day, so make sure that you are clicking the link in my description. There's also a free signals group if you're interested in it. Every info is in the description. Let's jump straight to it. What you want to have open first is tradingeconomics.com. You're gonna hit to indicators, right? You're gonna hit to indicators. As soon as you hit to indicators, basically we're looking for NFP, for non-farm payrolls, right? So it should be somewhere here. Here it is, right here, right? Now we know that NFP, we want to trade United States companies, right? So we scroll down and we basically want to see the previous points, right? We want to see the forecast and the actual units that NFP provided for us past events, right? So this is just for probability's sake. We're not really saying that if NFP was selling for 3 times in a row past events, past months, sorry, that means this time it will still sell. No, we're looking at probability here. So I use this website basically just for probability's sake, in terms of knowing that NFP, out of this whole year, we've had NFP 3 times, for example, like 3 times. Out of these 3 times, we've sold twice and bought once. So just to see what happens. So I know that the probability of it selling again is much higher than it buying, right? So that's what I'm exactly gonna do here. As you can see, these references is basically the months, the previous months of NFP, and then this actual basically means that NFP reached this price. It actually reached this price on December when it was NFP. It reached this price on January when it was NFP, right? And then these are the previous prices, and then the consensus. What it basically means by consensus is what everybody agreed to. So what this specific website concludes and is thinking that is going to happen. And then the actual forecast, it's something forecast is something that they see that might happen after December's actual price, right? So even though it was 216, the previous was 173, they concluded that, okay, you know what, the next one, it's gonna they concluded that the forecast is the one whereby like they know, they predicting what's going to happen in the future, and then the consensus is basically what they all agreed on what's gonna happen in the future, right? So sorry about that, bit sick. So that's the same thing, guys. With January, the actual price went higher. As you can see, the previous was 333, consensus, forecast, etc, etc, etc. So how I use this is I can actually see that like the actual price NFP has been buying from December and January, right? So right here I can see the probabilities of buying are much more than actually selling, right? So what I do here, right, is that after analyzing like that, guys, what I basically do is that, okay, I'm like, okay, since the actuals here have increased, I can see a solid increase here, never mind their forecast, I can see a solid increase. So what I'm gonna do still is bet on it that it's still going to increase. Now keep in mind that they're not talking about the 1530 movement directly here we're talking about NFP in general, the whole direction, right? So after the market has broken out the news, even though it might give you that spike, they're not talking about the spike, they're talking about the overall direction of the market in which it hits to, right? So that means it's gonna shoot up. So I'm gonna be buying this NFP. I might be buying, I might be selling, but remember, I don't strictly use fundamental analysis. I use it just to see if like I can put it anywhere in my technical analysis, right? So when I get here, what I want to do is I want to delete all of this. In the free mentorship group, we shared the signal currently eating deep blues, as you can see there. So I just want to delete this. Just give me a moment. Okay, delete it. So my analysis goes like this. First, we're gonna use 3 time frames here. 2 of them to look at the overall movement, and then 1 of them for entries, right? We're gonna use daily and 4 hour for overall movements, and then the 1 hour candlestick for entries, right, to basically enter. So now we at the daily time frame, right? I'm not gonna analyze every pair right here, just gonna analyze 2 or maybe 3, right? So what we want to do, right, we can clearly see that since the last video I told you guys basically how to draw your trend lines, right? So your trend lines shouldn't basically cut through like this, right? They should basically be like here above the current position, right? But as I mentioned on the last video, that the last candle, because it's currently in it's currently building up, so you can ignore it because it's not done yet, right? So basically your trend line will go something like this, so we can confirm that it's an uptrend, right? And it's an uptrend that just recently broke the trend line, so meaning that it is an uptrend, but we're waiting for that retest, and we're waiting for it to dip down since it has broken the trend line, right? And we can also see that, like, if we look at the market here, it doesn't want to break this resistance zone over here, right? So doesn't want to break this resistance zone, meaning that it's not supporting any buys at all. We have a current trend line which it just broke on the daily time frame, so meaning that we're looking at sells for tomorrow, right? Since the market has already broken the trend line, right? So it can break and sometimes not even end up closing below, so we have to make sure that it ends up closing so that we can confirm the downtrend, right? I see now, and I can confirm that USD JPY, I'm going to be heading for sales, right? So on the 4-hour time frame, remember, I'm looking at the overall direction again. This is where I can draw my trend line again, but this time you can even use a different color. So now with my trend lines, you notice that I'm only drawing below the wicks and I'm not cutting through any candlestick, right? So I basically draw it from here, and then sorry about that, let me just do this. And like I mentioned, the running candle right here, the current open candle, you can't really draw a trend line below the wick because it might pass the wick, or it's not fully done transforming. So you look at the previous candlestick, and that's where you draw your line, and you can see that, like, even on this, like, you can even change color. Let's change color of this trend line right here. You can even change, you can even see that, like, on this red one, which is the 4-hour time frame, we've broken, but we have not retested, but we can still confirm that we're heading down, right? So many people like me, risk takers, who don't want to wait for a retest, because a retest, we know it's coming. It's just that it depends on the capital that you have in order to enter. So some people like me would enter now, even while knowing that the retest is coming, but we will enter now because we can see that 2-hour time frames confirm that you know what, indeed we are heading down. Even though we are melting, the market is bound to come back to a certain area, whether it be a retest on this one right here or a retest on this one on the daily time frame, but it's bound to come back eventually, and then when it comes back, we are bound to head down. But this helps us just see that, you know what, NFP tomorrow, we're looking at strong sells right here, and I'm actually pretty confident of this sell right now, because I can already see that if we're melting like this, should it be tomorrow morning or tomorrow like 12 o'clock, then we should get a retest, which might confirm that, like, we still heading down for NFP, right? So that's pretty good. Like I said, 4-hour time frame overall direction. Now let's look for our our entry points, right? So with the downtrend that has been confirmed on past previous time frames, we can already see a certain structure, right? So we can see that ever since it broke, remember what I told you about the broke and retest, the breaking and retest, let me show you. So you can see that this line right here, which is the daily time frame, it broke and then it retested. So we're only seeing that it retested here on the 1-hour time frame, right? So if it retested like that, we would have entered here and we would have confirmed ourselves. So this is indeed a confirmed sell. So now, since it's a confirmed sells, we're basically going to be trading structure now, basically trading the downtrend, right? Like I told you guys, we never trade when the market is going consolidation sideways. We only trade on it's an uptrend or downtrend. So now I can see that it gave us a lower low and then a lower high, and then it gave us a lower low, then a lower high, lower low, lower high, and now we're still in a lower low, right? So now we're just waiting for it to give us a lower low, which could be maybe 2 buying candlesticks, right? Or even more, 2 or 3 candlesticks, and then we can still head down. It's very dangerous to go into the market while it's melting, because the movement has already left you. So that's why it's very essential that like you catch it on a retest, so that regardless of it breaking, like I mentioned, if we entered on this candle right here, this one right here, if we entered on it, it still would be wrong, but it just will depend on your capital. Because like for example, I said I would enter right here, but I know that the market is going to retest, so eventually it does, but it is going to come down. But you can't do that if you have like low capital. But with the best broker, RCG Market, you can use micro accounts. Basically ECN as 0 rand account as well is also available, so that your capital is more safe and secure, right? So like I said, USD JPY, we cannot see any entry points right here, because we're waiting for it to give us a lower high, right? And you know that on a downtrend we enter on lower highs. So basically right now we just see that this candlestick, instead of melting, it just gives us a lower high right there, right? So I'm gonna wait on this candlestick that's currently forming right now to give me hopefully a buy candle, so that it can give me a lower high, and then I can enter. Right now we currently have a lower high, not gonna lie, but I usually confirm it with 2 candlesticks. So after those 2 candlesticks form, I head down and I basically trade that sell, right? But this basically is not meant to be trading now. I'm basically just analyzing my NFP direction. So I can already see that with NFP you don't have to go through all pairs, guys. If I went through USD JPY, I know that I'm gonna trade USD to against any pair, sell, right? UXD to any pair, I'm gonna sell it, and I'm basically okay with that. Sorry about that. So next up, I want to head to NAS 100, right? So NAS 100, we basically do the same thing. Usually corresponds with every USD pair. We can see that based on my previous analysis, I was indicating a buy right here. So we're still in a buy right here, but there was also a short-term sell, right? So let me do this for you guys. I'll show you how exactly I did it. So there's 1 touch, 2 touch. I'm waiting for the 3rd touch right here. So since it's an upward trend, right, like the previous video I mentioned that you only trade on the 3rd touch only. Even though it's an uptrend, right, we're gonna wait for the 3rd touch, and then we're basically gonna be trading that buy, right? So now with my logical analysis, I know that I am waiting for a I'm waiting for a 3rd touch. So if I'm waiting for a 3rd touch, what does this mean? It means I'm waiting for that sell. So I'm waiting for the market to currently come back here on this zone, right, on this trend line, so that I can trade my buys. But while I'm waiting, I know that since I'm waiting, that means like I'm waiting for sells, meaning that NFP also, I might get those sells either before or on NFP. Either before, I might get those sells, and it might hit my candle, my trend line. And then if it happens that before NFP it closes on the trend line, then I'm gonna go the technical way and eventually buy. But logically right now, I can tell you that I'm heading for sells, since I'm waiting for it to come back to this trend line right here. So that's why I'll be trading a sell, exactly, because I'm waiting for the market to come back to this trend line right here, right? So during our analysis on the 4-hour time frame, basically we can go from the lowest point until the highest point. It'll be the same trend line as the daily hour time frame, right? You saw that. But now let's look at our current movement, because remember, we can draw market trend line on a current movement, right? So this is the 4-hour time frame, right? And you can see that on the 4-hour time frame, guys, we actually have something that we can enter on, like as we speak now, right? But to be safe, we're gonna wait for the market to currently close, and if it closes just like this and doesn't break this, then this is a confirmed buy, right? So basically I hope in my signals group, I just hope like in 2 hours the market just respects this and just closes above so I can take my buys. But like, then again, we're preparing for NFP, so regardless of the current trend, regardless of the current trade, I told you guys that currently we're seeing an upward, right? So we're gonna take those buys, right? So when we head down to the 1 hour time frame, that's when we're looking for our entry points, and you can exactly see that like on the 1 hour time frame we can already enter this trade right now, because on the 4 hour candlesticks